Well, hello and welcome to Bingewatch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwen, writer on What's on TV, TV Times and TV and Satellite Week magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases for the week starting Friday the 9th of June 2023, including the new ITVX comedy drama Significant Other, starring Katherine Parkinson and Youssef Kakour, and the Disney Plus series Saint X, in which a Caribbean island is rocked by the death of a teenage tourist.
And we'll also be checking out Tom Holland's Apple TV Plus psychological thriller called The Crowded Room, and going behind bars as Guz Khan's Man Like Mobeen returns, that's a mouthful, on BBC Three. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Daniel Day Kim will headline Prime Video's 6-part spy thriller Butterfly, which is all about an ex-intelligence agent living in South Korea. What else is in the news, Hannah?
And on Discovery Plus, there's a reality show with Vinnie Jones called The Wild Life, and cameras will follow the ex-footballer and Hollywood actor as he turns his hand to farming and conservation. One not to be missed, I'd say.
He's doing a Clarkson. Well, we should start, I guess, Hannah, by saying we're a little bit late with this week's podcast, so apologies for that, but Hannah's been away, and we won't name the airline, but there were issues getting home.
Can we please name them? I'd like to. It's a disgrace.
we don't want to get into that. So anyway, we've got a good selection, I would say, this week. We're going to start on ITVX, a new comedy drama series called Significant Other. And here's a clip.
What is it?
Your neighbour at 21. I'm having a heart attack.
I'm not going to die, am I?
I don't know.
Can't you just say something nice?
You want me to lie?
Loneliness is an issue.
You can get a heart attack from loneliness.
You're not married? I guess it's too late now. How old are you, 50?
Not quite.
Being an attractive woman is overrated. Trust me, my wife is stunning, but she finds it a total nightmare, so you're lucky.
So this arrived on Thursday, the 8th of June, and there are 6 episodes which are available as a box set. It's rather unusual, this one, I would say, because episode 1 starts with Sam, played by Youssef Kakour, who you may recognise from, he was in that very good comedy drama Home on Channel 4, which was written by Rufus Jones, who used to be my upstairs neighbour. Anyway, he is a father of 2. He's terribly depressed, and it starts with him attempting suicide. He's downing lots of pills when there's a knock on the door, and it's his neighbour Anna, played by the brilliant Katherine Parkinson, who's been in the IT Crowd and all sorts of things. She thinks she's having a heart attack, so she needs to wait with somebody until the ambulance arrives. So it's pretty high stakes stuff, and you'd think, well, is this the stuff of comedy, even romantic comedy? But I've got to say it works really well. So they both go to hospital, and it emerges that obviously he's attempted to take his own life, but in order to be discharged, he has to have a significant other to say that they will look after him. So he convinces Anna to sign the forms and say that she'll make sure he's okay. And they go back, because they live in the same apartment block together. They go back together, and that's the start of the story. And I just think it's incredibly well done, because, you know, these are very sensitive issues, especially the attempted suicide. And Sam, he wants to get back together with his wife, Shelley, who's played by Keely Bryan. It's so well written, and the 2 performances are just really nuanced and perfect, because sometimes it's laugh out loud funny, and sometimes it's very, very touching, you know. So I was pleasantly surprised by this. I love Katherine Parkinson anyway. I guess this is she's a brilliant comedic actress anyway, and she's doing something slightly different in this. Also looking forward to seeing, which he's not in episode 1, but one of my favourites, Mark Heap from Friday Night Dinner. Shalom, Jackie. He will be going out with Anna on a terrible blind date, so I cannot wait to see that episode. But yeah, highly recommended, something rather different and top quality, I thought. What did you think, Hannah?
It's a really sort of, it messes with your mind, doesn't it, something like this? Because on the one hand, like you say, it's some really dark moments, taking your own life. You can't get much darker than that, can you? And yeah, and other times it's laugh out loud. You're literally kind of flung from one emotion to another. But as you say, I think it really works. And actually the kind of the path to hopefully eventual happiness, it would never run smoothly, but this sort of does take a few different turns that I wouldn't necessarily, it's not that obvious, I don't think, all the way through. So for me it really worked. I thought they played the characters really well, and it was very convincing.
We're going to move over to Apple TV Plus for our next offering. It's another new series. It's called The Crowded Room, and here's a clip.
There's glass everywhere.
Signs of a struggle. Blood on the floor.
What about the girl?
No sign of her either. I'm thinking that he offed her.
What did you do? This wasn't a random shooting. He's hiding something.
What happened in that house? Where did they all go?
I have these blank spots.
Well, so this has Tom Holland in, which I know a lot of people are huge fans of, and I really wanted to chat about this one because I was on a quiz with Tom Holland a couple of years ago. Oh, would you believe it? Would you believe it? I've got a story here to tell. It was an auction, actually, and they were auctioning things at the end, but his pockets were deeper than ours.
Spider-Man doesn't have pockets.
The highest bid. But you know what? It was really fun, and I really liked him from that moment on because I felt like he was keeping it real. But as you say, Spider-Man, I mean, he's done many things, but Spider-Man is what everyone kind of really thinks about him. So this was a really different role for him, I think. It's a psychological thriller, and it's creepy in places. He kind of gets under your skin. He looks quite different from the sort of Hollywood star that we've come to know and love, out with Zendaya. He's just completely different in this, and it's inspired by a true story. There's 10 parts to it, and he plays the part of Danny Sullivan, who's a very shy and anti-social teen who he plays, I think, very, very well. He really gets into the part. From New York City, and he's arrested after a shooting at the Rockefeller Center. This is set in 1979, but he says he has no memory of this shooting. There are, big discussions. You see the whole his life story unfold. There's elements of a very tragic past, and I find it really quite creepy. I said when we were talking before that there were lots of twists and turns in this. This is something else. There's lots of different twists and turns, and it really looks into the psyche and the power of the human mind, I suppose, and how we deal with trauma. And I think he holds this. I mean, everybody that's on this, who is in this, is very, very good. Shameless actor Emmy Rossum plays Danny's mother, Candy. They're all great, but I think that for something so different for Tom, I think he plays this really well. I really enjoyed it, and it was quite creepy. What did you think, Ian?
I liked it, and like you, I enjoyed seeing Tom Holland really stretching himself because I've only seen him as Spider-Man. He's really good in this, and it's an interesting combination because it's partly a sort of classic rites of passage sort of story because we flash back to see him at high school. I mean, it's quite high stakes stuff. So he's hanging out with his mates. They decide to buy lots of pot and sell it at school, which, they could be expelled for that. He's being bullied by another student. And then at home, he's got a very scary and violent stepdad. So quite a few of the tropes of the classic sort of high school rites of passage thing. But then it's also mixed with this very interesting mystery. So the very first scene, it looks great. The 70s setting looks fantastic. It starts with this big chase through New York, which ends in the Rockefeller Center, and a shooting, which he's involved in. We don't see exactly what's going on, and so it's a bit of a mystery, and he kind of has almost like memory blackouts. So through lots of scenes with him and an investigator in a room, we're going to go back to the story of his life, and we see these neighbours move into the house next door, which has been abandoned for ages, and he gets to know them. Who are they? What are they involved in? It's a really good combo. So it slightly reminded me of Memento a tiny bit, or those movies like 12 Monkeys, where you see a scene at the start, and it's not clear exactly what's happening, and over the course of the series, the jigsaw is going to be put together. So yeah, I was impressed with episode 1, and I would recommend it. On BBC Three, it's the return of Man Like Mobeen, and here's a clip.
I can't wait till you come home.
Honestly, me neither, man.
Anyone who hangs around with you ends up in prison.
Well, we already here, so you ain't gotta worry about that.
Or they end up dead.
I've really missed you too.
What are you doing here? Breast reduction surgery?
Breast reduction? I didn't go breast reduction, excuse me.
So this is written by and stars Guz Khan, or Guz Khan. I first became aware of him when I saw him on Taskmaster, which with quite a lot of today's comedians, actually, the first place I see them is on Taskmaster. And I thought he was just incredibly naturally funny. Now, if you've not seen this is the 4th series. The gist of it is, so Khan plays a reformed drug dealer, Mobeen, and it's set in Birmingham. And it's kind of about him and his family and friends, and he's sort of always on the verge of getting into trouble with the people that he used to sort of hang out with. Anyway, what's interesting about it is kind of a comedy drama, but at the end of series 3, it turned into quite a sort of full-on just crime drama, really, vibe. There's a big shootout, and it felt like that was the end of the show, because one character was shot dead, and Mobeen and his pal mate were sent to jail. Meanwhile, Khan went over to Hollywood and appeared in a couple of movies. However, it's back, and it's kind of reinvented itself again, because this time it's now a prison drama, and it's following their lives behind bars, and it's just really well done, I have to say. But it also has the kind of slightly offbeat kind of humour. The dialogue is great, and a lot of the familiar characters, I mean, you have to suspend disbelief, but because it's a comedy, you can do so. The character one character who always calls him Bastard, he's quite an amusing character. Uncle Shady, played by Mark Silcox, he's great. He suddenly turns up as the prison chaplain. The police officer, Officer Harper, has now gone undercover as a prison officer. So, yeah, it's all done with a great sense of humour. There's a potential love interest. Meanwhile, his younger sister is training to be a doctor, but she's coming to visit at the prison. So I just think this is, well, for starters, it's kind of a community that we don't normally see represented on TV, and that's a positive. I think Khan is just, he's got funny bones. He's a good writer. He's a very funny performer as well, and he gets good people to be in his show. So, and also, it's got the lead from Significant Other, who we were talking about earlier, Youssef Karkour, also appears in it. So that's the theme for today's podcast. It's very much all about Youssef. I don't know if you watched any of the previous series, Hannah, but what did you think about this one?
Do you know what? It's quite fun, isn't it? Khan is really, like you say, he's got funny bones and seems to attract lots of decent people to be in this, and that's kind of what makes it work. I don't think it's something that I would naturally gravitate towards. I don't think it's something that I particularly find interesting, but I did watch it for the purposes of this, and it's funny. It works. It does what it says on the tin. Very, very clever writing. Not much more to say other than that, really. It's good, but is it something that I think I would continue to watch? Probably not.
Okay, I feel like it's also created a a new catchphrase, his new series, Nonce Vibes, which you'll hear in episode 1, and it's very funny. Okay, we're going to finish off over on Disney Plus. It's a new thriller series. It's called Saint X, and here's a clip.
Multiple witnesses saw Allison at the bar last night with 2 young local men. Let me be clear. We have determined the death of Allison Thomas was an accident.
This was not an accident, and everyone knows it.
This is more up my street, shall we say, because it's set in a very beautiful place, an idyllic Caribbean island. But the story isn't quite so idyllic. So this is based on Alexis Shakin's, I think that's how you say it, 2020 novel. And it's a murder mystery, and it's told through a number of different timelines and points of view. And, you know, you think that you know what's happened and then you don't. And it's very twisty and turny. That's the theme, I think, of idea of this podcast. It's twisty and turny. But essentially, it's about a family that have gone away together, and the daughter goes out one evening. She's got she's a pretty girl, various different interests, people interested in her. But what actually happened? Because the next morning, she's not in the house, and her body washes up. And as I say, you jump from sort of different times because there's a younger sister involved here, and you can see it through a child's eyes when they're taking the body out of the body bag, and, you know, the police saying that it was, you know, that they weren't questioning anyone and it was just an accident, and the family saying it's not an accident. And her parents absolutely distraught, and they want justice. And it causes this ripple effect because, of course, the child then grows up as she would, and she's subjected to quite a media frenzy and everything that goes with it. But she's determined, as she gets older, to find out what had happened. So I found it really quite captivating, you know, set with this wonderful backdrop. Actually, at the heart of it is a family's want to get the truth and to get justice. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought that it was really quite good. And I mean, there are some bits in it that don't strike as real. Yes, I would say that. I think there were some parts of it that you think, yeah, okay, this isn't quite how it would work. But set that aside for a moment, I think it's pretty good. What did you think, Ian?
I did find it entertaining. It's got a slight sort of White Lotus vibe to it, in that it's taking a look behind the scenes at this luxury resort, Caribbean resort, to see what the staff really think of these sort of spoiled guests. And it does that quite well. And it's got West Duchovny, daughter of David from the X-Files. She plays the young college student who goes missing. And a bit like with The Crowded Room, we start with the big event, which is discovery of a body, and a member of staff is running through the jungle trying to get away from someone or something. And then we're going to flash back to the family arriving at the resort. We're also going to get to know a little bit about two guys who work there. Edwin, played by Jaden Elijah, he's particularly good, I must say. He's the very charming resort worker who the guests love him because he's really smiley and funny. And Gogo, played by Josh Bonzi, and he's the person we see like running away in the first scene. But we're also good then, as you say, it flashes forward to present-day Brooklyn and the younger sister Claire, played by Alicia Debnam Carey, who gets into a cab, and Gogo is the driver. He's basically started a new life in New York. So this is obviously very triggering. It brings back the whole trauma. But we'll also go way back to when Edwin and Gogo were at primary school together. So we get an insight into their backstories. So there's a lot going on. I would say it kind of does tread a bit of a line between pot boiler with not very convincingly drawn characters in some areas. But there's certainly enough. I mean, I watched episode 1 and I enjoyed it. And yeah, there's all these different timelines. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, but I was entertained. Now we've got to that time, Hannah, where, well, you've been on holiday, so I don't know if you've had time to binge watch on anything, have you?
I did, actually. There was one night we stayed in and we managed to find an English channel that we could understand. That's bad, isn't it? I should know Spanish. I did it for A-level. And it was Celebrity Gogglebox. It was late, I suppose. Maybe it wasn't more to that. I don't know. Anyway, either way, it was quite awkward because I had my daughter with me, and the celebrities were discussing a show, as they do, and it had a sex room. It was about a sex room. It was very awkward. There was talk of all sorts of things, and I had to try and think on my feet to get out of that one. The other thing I did also watch, because I love it, is Escape to the Chateau, which of course there's been many headlines about recently.
Well, talking of Trouble in Paradise, I had a look at the M. Night Shyamalan film Old on Netflix, which is all about a mysterious beach which causes people to age prematurely. I felt like I was aging prematurely while watching it, so I did switch it off. However, I can recommend, also on Netflix, a very good sports documentary series called Tour de France Unchained, which, with the Tour de France coming up, I'm very excited about that. It takes a look behind the scenes at the 2022 tour, and it's very much in the same vein as the successful Formula One documentary series, which is also on Netflix. So if you like cycling, check it out. We've just got time to look ahead to what we're going to be talking about next week. So what's coming up, Hannah?
Well, 25 years on from the release of hit British film The Full Monty, woohoo, Robert Carlyle and the gang are back in a new series on Disney Plus, and I cannot wait.
And Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond and James May drive 1,400 miles through Central Europe in Prime Video's The Grand Tour Eurocrash. So we look forward to those and more. But in the meantime,
Keep
watching.